Welcome to our third series of our topic employment under the unit current challenges facing the Indian economy. Today's session, you'll learn about this important comparison between the growth of our income and the growth in employment generation in our country. We have grown so much, whether that rate of growth in our activity, in our income, is commensurate with the growth in income generation, whether we can create more jobs from or as a result of the increase in income. Okay, we'll deal that with that discussion based on this chart. Before we go into the discussion, let's look at the chart based from 1960-66. The light lines shows the GDP growth, and this black line indicates the growth in employment generation in percentage from 51 to 12. So you can see 51 to 60. That means in this 10 years of a decade after independence, our income generation was up. The income is higher than the generation of work. But important point to note is from 60 to 2000. If you look at the light gray line here, you can see that the national income, the GDP, has increased 2.8, 3.3, 4.8, 5.7, 5.8, fluctuate to 3.4, 6.1 up to here. Compare that with the growth in income generation from the same period 60 to 2000. You'll find the income at that point where the income is increasing. Employment 2.03, 1.99, 1.84, 1.73, 1.89, 1.5, 0.98. This is disheartening to see that there is a growth in the country, but income generation was not as it should be. Okay, so this area, this period of 40 years or 4 decades has seen a widening gap between an increase in income and a decrease in employment generation. Of course, our income has increased over the years, though in recent years, this is up to 12. In recent years, it has dipped down, but you can see there is a wide gap between income and employment. So that is a point you keep in mind, that our income level has gone up, but the income generation is not as it should be. That's why we have problem of people not finding work, problem of unemployment. So that what we are looking at there was the comparison between the growth of employment and growth in GDP, which is the income. Let's go to the line that we have explained. During the period 1950 to 2010, GDP of India grew positively, up and up, and was higher than the employment growth rate. You can see that gap. However, there was always fluctuation in the growth in GDP, sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes up, sometimes down. Fluctuation is not in a straight line. It's not straight up, straight down. Okay, but the employment generation overall during this period, 50 to 1000 here, it was around 2%. Income was around 5 to 6%. Average here it's around 2%. Okay, so what would we can see from here is employment growth started declining, as you can see, and reached a level of growth that India had in the early stage of planning. The the income level was somehow there, but then it dips down to the level of here 0.85, 0.98, as if during that period of starting of planning. After 50 years, it came down to the same level. Instead of going up, it goes down to the same level as before. It shows that there is something that we miss, some weakness is there, that generation of employment is not adequate. So what do we see from here? There's a widening gap between the growth of GDP and employment. Had it not been so, by now we would have been able to solve most problem of unemployment. That was the case that we experienced. So this means that in the Indian economy, without generating employment, without getting people getting work, we have been able to produce more goods. We are able to meet the demand of the market, but not with many people, but with the same people. And that kind of situation, scholars refer to this phenomenon as a jobless growth. That's an important concept. We grow, but not much job generated. A growth with jobless people. We are able to produce more goods, but not with many people. So that is a situation that we face in India. That's how somehow explains the situation. And here you have the essential question that you can ponder upon, you can think, you can discuss, you can debate. Do you think that in the last 50 years, now it's about last 80 years, employment generated in the country is commensurate with the growth of GDP? Do you think that it's commensurate, it, the employment keeping pace with the growth in GDP? How? You need to answer. You need to I've given you the some of the points here in the notes. You can relate to that, and you can clearly support your, I mean to say, support your opinion with these data available from here. So that is the case we are looking today. We'll deal with the next topic and subtopics next class.